The sun sparkled off the silver hull of the massive alien ship as it descended through Earth's atmosphere. People gathered in Seoul's central plaza, necks craned upward in wonder and apprehension. This was humanity's first contact with the Galactic Confederation, and the entire planet held its breath. Commander Jaiwo Park straightened her dress uniform, trying to project confidence she didn't entirely feel. As Earth's designated representative, she stood at the front of the reception committee. The ship settled onto its landing struts with surprising grace for something so enormous. When the entry ramp extended, Park was startled by the beings that emerged. The Valerians stood nearly 3 meters tall, their bodies covered in natural plate-like armor that gleamed like polished jade. Their forearms moved with fluid precision as they approached. "Welcome to Earth," Park said, bowing slightly. "We are honored by your presence." The lead Valerian, Ambassador Drell, looked down at her with compound eyes that reflected Park's image back at her a dozen times over. His mandibles clicked softly before he spoke in perfect Korean, translated by some unseen technology. "Your species is..." He paused, seeming to search for the right word, "quaint. Such fragile forms you possess." Park maintained her diplomatic smile, though something cold settled in her stomach. "We've managed well enough." Over the following days, the pattern continued. The Valerians and other Confederation species seemed fascinated by humanity's achievements despite what they viewed as severe biological limitations. No natural armor, minimal strength, poor sensory capacity, the list went on. At the formal diplomatic banquet, Park endured yet another round of thinly veiled insults. "Remarkable that you've built cities at all," commented a reptilian delegate, poking Park's arm with a clawed finger. "Your skin tears so easily." "How do you survive your winters without hibernation sacks?" asked another alien, genuinely confused. Park noticed Colonel Taeyeon Kim, her military liaison, bristling at each comment. She caught his eye and gave a subtle head shake. "Not now." The Confederation's official offer came 3 days later. Earth could join as a probationary member. Humans would be welcome throughout Confederation space as maintenance workers, administrative assistants, and other support roles deemed appropriate for their physical capabilities. Military service would be unwise, Ambassador Drell explained, given your physical limitations. "We protect our members. You need not worry about defense." Park smiled tightly. "How generous." "We'll need to discuss your offer with our world leaders." Deep beneath the Korean peninsula, in a secure bunker known to only a few hundred people worldwide, Park and Kim descended in a high-speed elevator. The Titan program had been Earth's best-kept secret for 15 years. "They think us weak," Kim said, his voice tight with anger as he pulled up schematics on a holographic display. "Let them. For now." The chamber below was vast, housing row upon row of gleaming metal suits. Not simple armor, but fully integrated exoskeletons with neural interfaces far beyond anything humans had publicly revealed. Engineers moved between prototypes, making adjustments and running tests. "How soon can we deploy if needed?" Park asked, watching a test pilot execute a perfect backflip in a suit that amplified her strength 20-fold. "Half the units are combat ready now," Kim replied. "The rest within 3 months. The neural interface gives us an advantage even over the Confederation's most advanced systems." Park nodded, watching as a technician lifted a 4-ton weight with casual ease, the suit responding to her thoughts as if it were her own body. "Earth's leaders are meeting tomorrow to discuss the Confederation's offer," Park said. "I'll recommend we accept their terms, for now." "And our program?" "Remains classified. Let them underestimate us while we learn everything we can about their technology and military capabilities." A junior officer approached, saluting crisply. "Commander, you should see this. The Confederation database they shared includes reports of attacks on their outer colonies. Something called the Raxus." Park reviewed the information, eyes narrowing. Interesting timing for them to seek new allies, even ones they consider weak. "Perhaps they need cannon fodder," Kim suggested darkly. "Or perhaps," Park said, looking again at the rows of advanced Titan suits, "they'll learn that necessity is the mother of invention, and humans have been overcoming their limitations since they first picked up tools." The Titan prototype in the testing chamber glinted under the lights, humanity's secret answer to a galaxy that had already dismissed them. The emergency alarm blared through the Confederation outpost on Helios 9. Red lights flashed as colonists rushed for shelter. 6 months had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Confederation, and the situation had grown tense across the galaxy. In the command center, Valerian Captain Mort Voss slammed his armored fist on the console. A holographic display showed dozens of enemy ships entering the system. Raxus attack vessels, he growled, mandibles clicking in agitation. They grow bolder each cycle. The Raxus were a newly emerging threat, insectoid predators with natural biological weapons that could pierce even Valerian armor. 3 colonies had already fallen to their sudden, brutal assaults. Commander Jaiwo Park stood quietly in the corner of the room, officially present as an administrative liaison. In reality, she gathered intelligence for Earth's Defense Council. The Confederation still relegated humans to support positions, believing their physical weakness made them unsuitable for combat. "Send the cleaners," Voss sneered, glancing at Park. "Humans can at least collect the dead after we handle the fighting." Park nodded deferentially. "I'll prepare our medical teams. We also have supply transports that could help with evacuation." What she didn't mention were the 4 unmarked cargo containers being quietly loaded aboard the human transport ship by Colonel Kim's team. Officially, they contained emergency medical supplies. The situation deteriorated rapidly. 3 hours later, the Raxus breached the colony's outer defenses. Their attack was more coordinated than previous encounters, suggesting growing intelligence behind their aggression. "They've cut off the northern quadrant," reported a Valerian officer. 200 colonists and a mixed security team are trapped there. Park checked her secure communicator. Colonel Kim had landed with his team on the far side of the settlement. "I volunteer to lead a rescue team to the northern quadrant," she said. Voss laughed. "Humans? On a combat mission? You'd be slaughtered." "We can move through the smaller maintenance tunnels that your warriors can't fit through," Park pointed out. "We don't need to fight, just evacuate civilians." Reluctantly, Voss approved the mission. Park selected 5 human crew members, including Private Salmon Lee, one of the top Titan program pilots. They moved through the colony's underbelly while Valerian forces engaged the Raxus above. The plan worked until they reached the northern quadrant. As they emerged with the first group of evacuees, a Raxus patrol ambushed them. Park and her team, along with 30 civilians and a squad of Valerian soldiers, were forced to retreat into an abandoned mining facility. Lieutenant Krell, the Valerian squad leader, took charge immediately. "Barricade the entrances. Humans, stay back and tend to the wounded. My warriors will protect the perimeter." Park exchanged glances with Private Lee. Through their earpieces, they could hear Colonel Kim's voice. "Commander, we're tracking your position. Relief is 30 minutes out." The facility shook as something massive slammed against the main doors. Through gaps in the barricade, they could see hundreds of Raxus gathering on the ridge outside, far more than the Valerian squad could handle. "This position won't hold for 30 minutes, Park said quietly into her communicator. "Understood," Kim replied. "You're authorized to initiate Protocol Lazarus." Lieutenant Krell overheard part of the conversation. "What relief? What protocol?" he demanded. "Just Earth stuff," Park said casually. "Nothing important." She turned to her human team members. "We need to prepare. Private Lee, ready the special medical equipment." "Running already?" Krell sneered. "I knew humans would break under pressure." Park smiled. "Not exactly." The barricaded door began to splinter as Raxus forces pounded it relentlessly. The civilians huddled in terror while the Valerian soldiers prepared for what would likely be their final stand. Private Lee and the other humans slipped away to a storage area where they had deposited their medical supplies. The cargo containers hissed open, revealing their true contents. Outside, the first Raxus broke through the barricade. Its chitinous limbs slashed through a Valerian soldier's armor like paper. Lieutenant Krell fired his plasma weapon, temporarily pushing the creatures back. "Where are those cowardly humans?" he shouted, looking around. The answer came in a form he never expected. The storage area door burst open, and the humans emerged transformed. No longer fragile creatures of flesh, they were encased in sleek armor that hummed with power. Neural interfaces glowed blue along their spines as the Titan suits bonded with their nervous systems. Private Lee stepped forward, her movements fluid and impossibly fast. As the Raxus swarmed through the broken barricade, she leapt toward them, covering 15 meters in a single bound. Krell's mandibles dropped open in shock as the supposedly weak human punched straight through a Raxus warrior's exoskeleton. The tide of battle was about to turn. Private Salmon Lee moved through the Raxus swarm like water, each motion precise and deadly. The Titan suit responded to her thoughts faster than her own muscles could, enhancing her strength 20 times over. A Raxus warrior lunged at her with blade-like forearms, but Lee sidestepped with inhuman speed and countered with a punch that shattered its exoskeleton. The Valerian soldiers stood frozen in disbelief. Lieutenant Krell's plasma rifle hung forgotten at his side as he watched the supposedly weak humans transform the battle. What are those?" a Valerian soldier whispered. Commander Park's voice came through her suit's external speakers as she lifted a Raxus twice her size and threw it against a wall. "Titan exosuits. Human technology. Neural interfaces that connect directly to our nervous systems." The suits were sleek, not bulky like traditional armor. Carbon nanotubes and synthetic muscle fibers followed the human form, glowing blue at the joints where power systems amplified every movement. Each suit was a perfect extension of its wearer's body and mind. Sergeant Hyun, another human soldier, leapt 5 meters straight up, caught a Raxus trying to crawl along the ceiling, and slammed it to the ground. His suit's targeting system projected enemy positions directly into his visual cortex, letting him fight with perfect awareness. "Impossible," Krell muttered. "Your species has nothing like this in your public technology records." "Obviously," Park replied, dispatching another Raxus with a precision strike to its neural cluster. "We kept our advantages to ourselves while you all laughed at our primitive bodies." The tide of battle shifted dramatically. The Raxus, facing unexpected resistance, began to retreat. Outside the facility, Colonel Kim arrived with the rest of the Titan squad. Driving the remainder of the Raxus forces back, they secured a perimeter around the colony. In the aftermath, the humans worked efficiently, still in their suits, moving rubble that the Valerians would have needed heavy equipment for. Private Lee lifted a collapsed wall section weighing nearly 2 tons, holding it steady while trapped colonists escaped. Lieutenant Krell approached Park cautiously. His earlier arrogance had vanished, replaced by wary respect. "Your technology, it's beyond anything the Confederation has developed," he admitted reluctantly. "How long have you had these Titan suits?" Park removed her helmet, her face gleaming with sweat but her eyes sharp. "We began development before we even knew you existed. When the Confederation arrived and immediately decided we were too weak for anything but support roles, we decided to keep our advancements quiet." "But why reveal them now?" Krell asked. "Because people were dying," she said simply. "And because sometimes a demonstration is more effective than an explanation." Colonel Kim joined them, his suit's surface reconfiguring to accommodate his movement as he walked. "The Raxus have retreated from the system. Our sensors show they're regrouping in the asteroid belt." A Valerian scientist had cautiously approached one of the Titan suits, scanning it with a handheld device. "This interface, it's connecting directly to your nervous system? The integration rate must be incredible." 98% neural synchronization, Kim confirmed. "The suit becomes an extension of our bodies. We think and it moves. But the computational requirements would be beyond your current technology," Kim finished for him. "Yes. We found a different approach." Private Lee demonstrated by having her suit's arm disassemble and reassemble a complex piece of equipment faster than eyes could follow, the components blurring as they moved. The Valerian captain, Voss, had arrived from the command center and was watching with a mixture of shock and growing concern. "This technology changes everything. The Confederation Council must be informed immediately." "Of course," Park agreed. "But first, there are still Raxus in this system. Shall we finish clearing them out together? The question hung in the air, an offer of partnership rather than the subservience the Confederation had assumed would be humanity's only role. Voss looked at the humans in their advanced suits, then at his own troops who were still processing what they had witnessed. I believe that would be wise. As they prepared for the next phase of the operation, Park received a transmission from Earth. The emergency deployment of Titan technology had been noted by Confederation sensors. The secret was out. Was this your plan all along? Krell asked quietly as they walked toward the command center. Park smiled. Let's just say we were waiting for the right moment to reveal our capabilities. There's nothing like a good demonstration to change perceptions. Behind them, the human soldiers continued their work, moving with grace and power that had the Valerians reassessing everything they thought they knew about the species they had so quickly dismissed. The news spread through the Galactic Confederation like wildfire. Within days of the battle on Helios 9, every major species had seen footage of humans in Titan suits moving with impossible speed and strength. The supposedly weak, fragile species had revealed technology that surpassed anything in the Confederation's arsenal. Commander Jaiwo Park stood in the center of the High Council chamber on Valeria Prime, the Confederation's capital world. The circular room towered around her, with representatives from 27 species seated in rising tiers. Most watched her with a mixture of suspicion and newfound respect. High Counselor Zeth, a massive Valerian elder whose exoskeleton had darkened with age, leaned forward from the central podium. You deceived the Confederation, he stated, his translator conveying the cold tone perfectly. Earth concealed military capabilities that violated the terms of your provisional membership. Park maintained her composure despite being the only human in the room. With respect, Counselor, we concealed nothing that was asked of us directly. The Confederation assumed our physical limitations defined our combat potential. That was your error, not our deception. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. A Tauran representative with 6 eyes arranged in a circle around its head spoke next. The neural interface technology alone represents an advancement that should have been shared. The Confederation pools technological resources. Does it? Park raised an eyebrow. Strange. The Valerians haven't shared their crystalline armor production methods. The Taurans keep their faster-than-light communication systems proprietary. Every species protects their advantages. The chamber fell silent. Park continued, her voice steady. Humans have always adapted to overcome physical limitations. While other species evolved natural armor, multiple limbs, or enhanced senses, we developed technology to extend our capabilities. The Titan program is simply the latest step in that process. The Council Chamber's display activated, showing footage from Helios 9. Private Salmon Lee moved in her suit with fluid grace, outpacing even the fastest Valerian warriors. Another clip showed Sergeant Hyun lifting a crashed shuttle that would have required heavy machinery for any Confederation species to move. Your neural integration capabilities exceed anything our scientists believed possible, admitted a Melaran scientist, her translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns of curiosity. How did you achieve this? Necessity, Park answered simply. Without natural advantages, we needed perfect integration between body and technology. Our brains are remarkably plastic and adaptable. The footage shifted to show Colonel Kim demonstrating the suit's capabilities in controlled conditions. The neural response time was half that of the Confederation's most advanced systems. High Counselor Zeth's mandibles clicked in what Park had learned was a sign of irritation. This changes the balance of power within the Confederation. Humans can no longer be classified as a support species. That classification was never accurate, Park said. It was based on prejudice, not capability. A new alert flashed across the chamber's displays. Reports of 3 more Raxus attacks on outer colonies appeared, along with casualty counts. The Confederation forces were struggling against the growing threat. The Valerian War Minister rose from his seat. His armor bore fresh battle scars, and one of his forearms was encased in a healing sleeve. The practical matter remains. The Raxus threat grows. Their biological weapons pierce our natural defenses. We have lost 3 battle groups in the past month alone. He turned to face Park directly. We request, he said, each word clearly difficult for him, human assistance against the Raxus threat. The chamber erupted in voices. Some counselors protested, others voiced support. Park waited until the noise subsided. Earth is prepared to commit Titan forces to the defense of Confederation worlds, she said calmly. As equal partners in this alliance. Our combat engineers have already developed countermeasures specific to Raxus biological weapons. The council debated for hours. Park stood patiently, occasionally answering technical questions about human capabilities. When the final vote came, it was decisive if reluctant. Earth would be granted full military membership in the Confederation. Humans would lead a special task force against the Raxus threat. In exchange, they would share limited aspects of their neural interface technology. As Park left the council chamber, she found the Valerian Lieutenant Krell waiting in the corridor. He had been assigned as liaison to the human forces after witnessing their capabilities firsthand on Helios 9. Your status has changed quickly, he observed. From janitors to saviors in less than a month. Park smiled. Perceptions change when reality forces them to. The War Minister has authorized joint training exercises, Krell said. My warriors are eager to work with Titan operators. And we're eager to work with them, Park replied. Every species has strengths to contribute. As they walked toward the military wing of the complex, Park's communication device chimed. Colonel Kim's message was brief: full Titan production was now underway. The next generation of suits would be ready within months. The humans were no longer the galaxy's underestimated newcomers. They had become its unexpected champions. The Joint Strike Force assembled on the massive carrier's deck, a sight unimaginable just 3 months earlier. Colonel Taeyong Kim watched with quiet satisfaction as human Titan operators stood shoulder to shoulder with Valerian warriors, Tauran scouts, and representatives from a dozen other Confederation species. Private Salmon Lee demonstrated neural interface techniques to a group of fascinated alien engineers. Her Titan suit gleamed under the carrier's lights, its surface occasionally rippling as it adjusted to her subtle movements. The trick is to not think about moving the suit, she explained as the aliens watched her perform a series of complex maneuvers. You have to feel it as your own body. A Valerian engineer attempted the neural link with a prototype adapted for his species. His movements were jerky and uncoordinated. After several frustrating minutes, he disconnected. The synchronization rate is only 60%, he said, mandibles clicking in frustration. How do humans achieve such perfect integration? Evolution, Commander Park replied, approaching the group. Your species developed natural armor and strength. You never needed to extend beyond your physical form. Humans have been using tools to overcome limitations for our entire history. Our brains are wired for it. Captain Voss, once dismissive of humans, now commanded the Joint Carrier Group. He approached with Lieutenant Krell at his side. The Raxus fleet has been detected moving toward the Proxima colony, Voss informed them. All units will deploy in 6 hours. The carrier hummed with activity as final preparations were made. In the armory, human technicians worked alongside alien counterparts, calibrating weapons and reviewing tactical plans. What had begun as reluctant cooperation had evolved into genuine respect. Your bodies may be fragile, Voss acknowledged as he and Park reviewed the mission plans, but what you've built to overcome that limitation is impressive. Park smiled. Every species adapts in their own way. The Raxus have their biological weapons. Valerians have their natural armor. Humans have our technology. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, emerging near Proxima colony just as the Raxus attack began. The insectoid vessels swarmed around the colony's orbital defenses, their biological ships resembling massive hive structures. Titan Squad, deploy now, Park ordered from the command center. The launch bays opened, and 50 human operators in advanced suits launched themselves directly into space. Unlike bulky traditional space armor, the Titan suits adapted instantly to vacuum, their systems maintaining perfect life support while allowing full combat capability. Private Lee led the first wave, using her suit's propulsion system to intercept a Raxus boarding party before they could reach the colony's main habitat ring. The battle that followed was like nothing the Confederation had seen before. Humans moved between Raxus ships with precision and speed, their suits' adaptive systems allowing them to target vulnerable points that Confederation intelligence had identified. Each Titan operator acted with the effectiveness of an entire traditional squad. When a critical defense station came under heavy attack, Colonel Kim personally led a team to reinforce it. The station's Melaran commander watched in awe as the humans arrived, moving through space with the grace of beings born to vacuum. "Our shields are failing," the commander reported. "We cannot hold this position much longer." "You don't need to," Kim replied. "We'll take it from here." His team positioned themselves at key points around the station, their suits' weapons systems linking with the station's remaining defenses. What followed was a perfect demonstration of human adaptability. Rather than fighting according to standard Confederation tactics, the Titan operators constantly shifted their approach, never allowing the Raxus to predict their movements. On the command carrier, Commander Park coordinated the overall battle strategy. The holographic display showed the Raxus forces gradually being pushed back from the colony. For the first time since they had appeared, the predatory species was facing defeat. "They're retreating," Lieutenant Krell announced as the Raxus mothership began pulling its forces back. "The colony is secure." The victory celebration afterward was subdued but meaningful. Representatives from every species raised glasses in the carrier's main hall. Captain Voss addressed the assembled forces. "Today marks a new chapter for the Confederation," he declared. "We have learned that true strength comes in many forms. The humans have taught us that physical limitations can be overcome through innovation and determination." Commander Park stepped forward when invited to speak. She looked across the room at the diverse gathering, beings of all shapes, sizes, and biological compositions united in common purpose. "The Raxus thought us easy prey because they saw only our physical forms," she said. "They failed to understand that the true measure of any species is not just what they are born with, but what they create. Today's victory belongs not to humans alone, but to this alliance of diverse strengths." As the fleet set course back to Confederation space, Private Lee stood in the observation deck, watching the stars streak by. A young Tauran cadet approached her hesitantly. "Is it true," the cadet asked, "that someday we might use Titan suits as effectively as humans?" Lee smiled. "With practice and the right adaptations, yes. The future of the Confederation will be stronger because we each bring different gifts to our alliance." The galaxy would never underestimate humans again, but more importantly, humans would never again be dismissed for their primitive bodies. What had begun with ridicule had transformed into respect, and eventually, into a partnership that would reshape the stars themselves.